Today, we're going to be looking at part 1 of the Ielts speaking test. So what can you remember about speaking part 1? How many topics do you get? What's the general theme of speaking part 1? What are some common topics you might get? How many questions do you get? Let's have a look together. So speaking part 1 is where the examiner will ask you questions about your life and interests. How it works. So there are 3 key topics the examiner will ask you questions on. These topics are work or your studies, your hometown, how it works. There are 3 key topics. But in the first topic, the examiner will ask you questions on your work or studies, your home or where you live, or your hometown. For each of the 3 key topics, you get around 4 to 6 questions. Following on from the first topic, the examiner will then move on to 2 more topics. Common ones include family, free time, sports, shopping. But the examiner may also choose an unusual topic area that you don't frequently encounter. Note, the examiner cannot help you understand a question, so they can't rephrase it, but they can repeat it, and they can explain any vocabulary items that you don't understand. Tips. Remember, part 1 is about you, so answer naturally, and try to develop your answers. You could develop them by giving some examples or reasons. Try to answer with about 2 to 4 sentences for each question. Remember to use intonation to show some emotion or feeling in your answers. Answer the questions directly, without too much waffle, but you can use some filler phrases to help you with your fluency. Things like, you know, so, well. You can ask the examiner to repeat the question. Can you repeat the question, please? Or to explain the meaning of a word you don't know. Can you explain what does the word mean? Remember, don't just memorize answers to question banks, because it's likely the topics will be different in the real exam. So this is my part 1 speaking strategy. In fact, there are 5 speaking strategies you can employ for part 1. The first strategy is divide into 2 or 3 parts. Strategy 2, general to specific. Strategy 3, depends. Strategy 4, concession. Strategy 5, avoidance. So let's look at the first strategy. Divide into 2 or 3 parts. First, answer the question with a general statement. Then add 1 or 2 points. The question is, tell me about your hometown. I start with a general statement. I'm from Edinburgh, which is a city in the UK. I add my first point. The main thing you should know is that Edinburgh is the capital city of Scotland, with a population of around 500,000. I add my next point. I'd also like to mention the fact that it's one of the most beautiful cities in Europe, with stunning Gothic architecture. Here are some phrases you can use to introduce each point in your response. Point 1, you could say, I'd like to begin by saying. Point 2, another interesting point is. Point 3, and I shouldn't forget to mention that. But you can use a range of a variety of different phrases to introduce each point. The next strategy we're looking at is general to specific. First, give a general dislike or like. Next, give a more precise statement or reason, and then give an example. question is, what's your favourite kind of food? So I start with a general like. Well, I'm really keen on Asian cuisine. Next, I give a more precise statement and a reason. In particular, I really love to eat Chinese food because I love the flavour. And then I give an example of a Chinese dish. For instance, my favourite dish is sweet and sour pork. So first, give a general statement. Well, in general, I would say, generally speaking, overall, I think that. Then explain it more specifically and give a reason. In particular, or specifically, to be more precise. I guess this is probably because. This is due to the fact that. And finally, an example. For instance, a case in point would be, for example, depends. This is when you give different reasons for different situations. For your first preference, use if, and then for the preference 2, use but if. What do you usually do at the weekend? Well, it kind of depends really. If I'm exhausted, I prefer to do something relaxing like reading a book on the sofa. But if I feel energetic, I'd rather do something more exciting like going hiking. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about the different Part 1 strategies, please look at our course website and join our course for more information, including model answers and in-depth strategies applied to different question types. Thank you.